All right, what is going on, guys? Today we are talking about something kind of serious. So with that being said, it's probably not going to be as upbeat or like as funny. There's not going to be as many jokes and anything like that. It's a little more serious of a topic. I can't lie, but I do want to tackle it anyway because I'm a commentary channel, so I feel like there has to be, I don't know, I have to put something out for it, right? This is like what I do. But basically today we are going to be talking about Chris Tyson, aka Chris from MrBeast. Now, a little while ago, like probably a week ago or so, Chris came out as trans. Actually, it's probably like close to 2 weeks. I don't know. This thing's been going on for a while. But yeah, he came out as trans, or, I'm not sure if it's he, whatever. I don't know the pronouns really. So, apologize if I fuck those up. But yeah. They came out as trans, right? Okay, cool, whatever. Who cares? Not me. I didn't really care. I was like, oh, you know what? Good for them. Cool, right? They get to go be who they want to be, right? Awesome. Not really anything to, give a whole lot of a shit about, just okay, cool. Glad you shared that publicly. Glad you felt comfortable, whatever. But in doing so, a kind of like domino effect Twitter meltdown occurred. Like just an absolute like shit show occurred after Chris went ahead and put this out. It was like nightmarish. There were so many tweets directed at him, directed at MrBeast. And now most of these were negative. Don't get me wrong. There were a couple that were like, oh, cool. Glad to see you being yourself, blah, 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 whatever. Like, okay, awesome. This is cool, whatever, right? Just there were a couple positive ones like that. But then there were, for every one of those and then probably more, there were so many negative tweets. So many that were just like, oh, I can't believe like Chris would do this. I'm not ever watching MrBeast again. I'm unsubscribing, fucking boycott MrBeast until Chris leaves. Just a ton of stuff. Just an absolute just shit show. Like I said, just terrible, right? Throwing out everything, throwing out, oh, he went from a wife and kids to now he wants to be a wife, or like, just crazy fucking shit, talking about his family life, talking about how he's gonna fuck up his kid's life because of what he's doing, like shit that you should probably never say to anybody under any circumstance, like that's a fucking wild thing to be like, oh, a decision you made is gonna fuck up your kid forever, especially when it's not even a decision that's like that bad. Like what's really going to come of this? Not a whole lot. It's not like that bad of a thing, right? It's not that impactful. And I'm sure that his kid will understand, right? I'm sure that Chris's kid will understand the situation and understand what's happening, It's not like a weird fucking thing, It's not as weird as people make it out to be. And so it's crazy to to tweet shit like that. Like I said, to anybody for any reason. That's wild. That's fucking awful. But it kind of came to a big like fucking, I don't know, like a major climax, right? We hit like a climax in this like Twitter shit show. And that is because Sunny V2 uploaded a video. Now, Sunny V2 has uploaded a lot of videos, right? On a lot of things. Honestly, I kind of like Sunny V2. I don't know if I could say that, for much longer, but, I've liked Sunny V2 in the past. I think he's made some pretty good videos. I've actually watched Sunny V2 for a really long time. Like, I think before he blew up, I was watching him. He's made some awesome videos over the years that I've enjoyed. And he's actually inspired me to make a lot of my, like, what happened to, the rise of things like that. Those are mostly inspired by his videos. And I'm sure I've said that before, but, maybe you haven't seen that. So just to clarify it there, I am definitely biased towards being on Sunny V2's side. However, with this recent video on the Chris situation, I can't say that I am, especially for this video in specific. I definitely am not. But I feel like this may have revealed some like true colors that I don't know if I'm the biggest fan of. And it seems like not very many people are a fan of it. Don't get me wrong. All those people that were saying all the like crazy outlandish shit towards Chris are definitely on board with this Sunny V2 video because it talks about a lot of the things that they were talking about, which we'll get into. But I think a lot of people that were, saying the positive stuff and, whatever, a lot of people in the position like me where they're just like, okay, cool, right? Not life-changing for me, but okay, cool, good to see, right? I think a lot of people in that position were kind of fucking disappointed in the Sunny V2 video. And I was too. I was, quite frankly, I was like disappointed. I was disappointed that he would kind of openly voice takes like that, I guess. So basically what happened, it wasn't the most biased video in the world. If you haven't seen it, it's not like he went in on him and was like, oh, like this dude, this is, fucking deplorable. Like he didn't say anything like that, right? It wasn't like a lot of the tweets. It wasn't really crazy like that, but it definitely wasn't in support. He talked about how Chris would be like the downfall of MrBeast, basically, like a huge impact to MrBeast's momentum, right? Like it would stop it. It would fuck up his whole, operation that he has going on. Like it's a huge issue for MrBeast. And now MrBeast got kind of upset with this video, as I think that you probably would in that situation when somebody who is talking about someone who is your friend potentially being like a major issue in your life when you don't really feel that way. I feel like MrBeast definitely had the right to be pissed off about this, for sure. And he made that kind of clear in his tweet. I think his tweet was something along the lines of like, Chris isn't a huge issue for my company or for me or anything like that. He's my friend, and like this shit's out of hand, like what everybody's saying. And it's true. Like Chris is MrBeast's friend before anything. Like I know that everybody just sees the on-camera shit, and that's how it is with every YouTuber, They only see what they put out. And so obviously you think Chris, oh, MrBeast crew. Like he's part of MrBeast crew. He's there to make the videos, blah, 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 blah. Whatever relationship we see on screen is 100% how it is all the time. But that's not true, whether that be positive or negative. Maybe you have kind of an off filming day where you're not really feeling it or like you're not vibing so much that day. But, whatever, you go ahead and upload the video. But then, I don't know, after the shoot or some shit, you go grab lunch and you're like the best of fucking friends again. So it's like, you don't always see shit like that. And that was kind of one of the things that Sunny V2 mentioned, is that in a live stream that they did, I think a couple days after the whole like Chris shit really kicked off, MrBeast seemed a little out of it, maybe a little uncomfortable. Like the vibe in the room wasn't 100% there. He was saying shit like that. And he was like, Chris would bring up pictures of like, female drawings from the PO box and be like, oh, look, Jimmy, this looks just like you. And it's like, who gives a fuck? Like, I mean, like I said, it might have been off that day, or they might have thought, oh, this is a weird dynamic because of all the shit that's kicking off with Chris on Twitter. Like, MrBeast might have not been in the biggest fucking happy mood because his friend was getting fucking slandered on Twitter. Like, there's a lot of reasons that could have contributed to what was happening there, beyond the fact that I don't really think what Chris was doing is what, Sunny V2 assumed it to be. Like, I don't think that he was trying to insinuate that Jimmy was also like trans, or that it was funny that like Jimmy was drawn as a girl or some shit. I think they just genuinely were picking up the art from the PO box and making kind of like a joke about it. Like, I don't, I think it was read way too far into, way fucking too far into by Sunny V2. And then it got a lot of other people going, oh yeah, look, Jimmy's pissed off. Look, MrBeast is, he's not comfortable with this at all. And it's like, that's not even fucking true. And, obviously Mr. Beast has cleared this up since, saying, Chris is his fucking friend, because you don't see the shit that happens off camera. Mr. Beast could have been so cool with him that day off camera, but it was just weird to get on camera with something like that happening or whatever, and plus, there were so many things wrong with this Sunny V2 video. One, they compared Chris to being like the added in, queer, like shoo-in to like your typical, I don't know, your typical fucking soap opera show, right? There's a bunch of fucking shit on TV where it's like, oh, they need to shoo in a black person for diversity, or they need to shoo in, an LGBT person for, I don't even fucking know, for like representation, right? And so Sunny V2 was like, oh, well, Chris could serve as this fucking, symbol of representation for the LGBT community, which is like, that's stupid, because a lot of those characters on those shows are heavily like stereotyped, right? They're heavily stereotyped. They're heavily like, bolstered and like out of fucking proportion to what people like that actually are in real life. They're there so you can clearly identify them as being that thing. And that's not really what Chris is at all. He's a fucking person, He's a normal person in normal everyday life who makes videos with his friends. He isn't there to be like a selling point to bring in, LGBT individuals to Mr. Beast. And he's also not there to try and, wipe the Mr. Beast community of like heavily right-wing people who might not fuck with, Chris transitioning or whatever. He's neither one of those things. He's not like a pawn in the company. Chris is literally just there to be Chris, and that should be how it goes, like I don't really see the need for any different kind of label to Chris besides Chris, and Chris has been bisexual for a very long time, like Chris has been bisexual for a long time, out as bisexual, and nobody seemed to have that big of an issue with it. But all of a sudden, coming out as trans has had this massive fucking effect on people's lives for some reason, when it doesn't really matter. And, Sunny V2 has gone further. I think that there were parts where he brought up like Chris's marriage, which obviously didn't work out, and back to his kid, which bringing his kid into this is just a really fucking low blow, because multiple times Chris has said, I'm doing this in part almost for my kid, so I can be more comfortable around my kid and be like a better role model for my kid, which is something that I think a lot of parents probably want. They probably want to be as comfortable and as open and, as good of a role model as possible for their kids, right? They don't want to be like somebody that they hate, that would be terrible. That's a terrible thing to kind of promote to your children, is like, oh yeah, you should live a life where you don't actually 100% like yourself. Like, that's not cool. That's not something that you want to model. And so I don't know. I don't really think that what Chris did is that detrimental to anybody. I don't think it's really going to affect Mr. Beast in any major way. In fact, it'll probably blow over pretty soon after I make this video, if it hasn't already seemingly like blown over. Because it's just like, it's just so insignificant at the end of the day. Are people really going to care? Like, sure, there's this huge backlash right now, but it's just because people want to say something. People want to feel a part of the conversation and join like the majority side. And honestly, I feel like that could be Sunny V2's reason for making his video as well. Just to like throw in a fucking opinion that doesn't really need to be heard. And, you could say the same thing about me, I guess, but I'm just more trying to keep it neutral and, just trying to kind of portray like, the outlandish fucking thing that happened on Twitter because of this. Like, it's fucking crazy. And, really across social media in general, I guess. But I hope you guys did enjoy this video. It was kind of an odd one. It was a little more serious for sure. But I hope you guys still enjoyed nonetheless. If you did, it would be awesome if you could make sure to hit that like button as well as subscribe. That's always cool. It's always super appreciated. But if you don't, you don't. I'm not going to fucking chase I'm not going to fucking chase after you with like a goddamn hatchet or some shit, right? Like it is what it is. But yeah, thank you guys so much. I will see you guys later. Goodbye.